This thing that they tracked on radar that went from more than 60,000 feet above sea level to 1 foot in less than a second, shaped like a tic-tac, no visible sign of propulsion, blocked radar, actively jammed their tracking systems, and then went to their predetermined point that they were supposed to, that the fighter jet was supposed to scramble to, went to it 30 miles away in, a couple seconds. They have no idea how it did it. They don't know what it is.
Okay.
And these guys that were working for the Navy off the coast said they had encountered them several times.
The first paper that I wrote on this, I was interested in looking at some of these new cases, especially the Nimitz encounter. And I found it fascinating that, my graphics isn't quite working here. I found it fascinating that these things were, these tic-tac shaped objects were observed to drop from about 28,000 feet to sea level in 0.78 seconds. That is crazy and really anomalous. How anomalous? Do the math, do the calculations. This is actually, I've criticized other physicists who've said, well, the analysis was rather simple. And my response to this was like, yes, you should have done it. Your students could have done it. And in fact, there was a class in Georgia, a high school class in Georgia, high school physics class that used this paper as an example on how you can make estimates of kinematics. So if you look at this, you can estimate the minimum acceleration, which comes about from the object would have accelerated halfway and then decelerated the other half of the way. That gives you a lower bound for the acceleration, which comes out to be around 5,000 Gs, 5,000 times the acceleration of gravity. No, people aren't going to survive this. Most equipment won't survive this. An F-35's wings will rip off at about 13 Gs. So 5,000 Gs is really anomalous. We estimated the power, and of course to do this you need to know the mass. We don't know the mass. These things were estimated to be about the size of an F-18, and an F-18 is around 10,000 kilograms of mass. We decided let's take a much lower bound, let's take 1/10 of that. So we just assuming that this was maybe 1/10 of the mass of an F-18, you come out to a power that you can't read under there easily of 1,100 gigawatts of power. This is more than 10 times the total nuclear power output of the United States. Let that sink in for a minute. 1,000 gigawatts. If you remember the movie Back to the Future, when he's got to power up his car, 1.2 gigawatts? I mean, that was 1.2 and he's all freaking out. This is 1,000. This is one craft the size of an F-18. How does this happen? We don't know. This is where the anomaly is. This has been known for a long time. Hermann Oberth was the German father of modern rocketry. He was a mentor of Wernher von Braun. There's Hermann in the front center, the very grumpy gentleman there. Why is he so grumpy? He's grumpy because in 1954, he gave a lecture on flying saucers where he pointed out that they have been measured to travel at speeds of 19 kilometers a second, which is about 42,000 miles an hour. And he points out that, he actually says, if there would only be 3 or 4 measurements, I would not rely upon them and would wait for few further measurements. But there is existing more than 50 such measurements, radar measurements, in 1954. That's like 70 years ago. This was known 70 years ago that these things are flying at spacecraft speeds. Why do people always assume they're spacecraft? It's simple, because they fly as fast as spacecraft do. This doesn't take a PhD to figure this out. Yet PhDs can't handle it.